Welcome. Anakbayan Toronto is an overseas chapter of Anakbayan in the Philippines. We are also part of Anakbayan Canada. We have chapters in Alberta, as some folks have shared, Ottawa, Montreal. We have a chapter starting in Regina, in Saskatchewan, and we have an affiliate organization in Vancouver through Sulong UBC. So Anakbayan is the largest and most comprehensive organization of Filipino youth and students for national democracy, with 20,000 members worldwide. We strive for genuine freedom, peace, and democracy in the Philippines by arousing, organizing, and mobilizing the youth, especially youth in the diaspora. And our objectives today, so we're hoping to have to finish by 9 p.m. EDT. So we'll have about 2-ish hours, an hour, 45 minutes together to understand and know the implications of the anti-terror bill and what it means towards the people. The next objective is to understand, this trend of state repression in the Philippines. The anti-terror bill does not exist in a bubble. Rather, it's been a long time coming. And thirdly, strategize and talk about how we can take action. So we'll have a section where folks can share their thoughts, ask questions, and we can talk about that collectively. So next, we're gonna do an activity. I don't know how many folks are on TikTok, but if you're on TikTok, this is something you might be familiar with. So we invite you folks to turn your cameras on just for this portion to do this activity. All right, I'm gonna need folks to put up your hands. Thanks, Steph. Thanks for the encouragement. Thanks for people for vibing. Yes.
Wait, 10 fingers?
10 fingers.
Okay. I'm trying to eat spaghetti, sorry.
Okay, actually, I realize I can't participate because I got to turn the slide. Sad. I was really excited for this. Okay, everyone, get yourselves ready. Okay. Also, can I take a quick screenshot? This is pretty cute. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay. All right, everyone's got your fingers. So, for those of you who have not played this or have not watched any TikToks about this, basically we're gonna name activities, questions, thoughts, things, and if it applies to you, put a finger down. Good? Okay. So, put a finger down if you were born in the Philippines. Put a finger down if you have been to the Philippines. Put a finger down if you attended a mobilization in support of Black Lives Matter. Put a finger down if you donated to a fundraiser for relief efforts in the Philippines. Put a finger down if you posted a story about an Instagram story about defunding the police. Put a finger down if you shared a meme about political issues. Put a finger down if you are unsure what to do in this political climate. Well, guess what? Get in, loser, we're going to jail. But actually, raise your left fist if you're excited to learn about your role in uplifting fellow Filipinos. Amazing. Excited to have you all join. Yeah, so this was, actually, what are your thoughts about what we just discussed and what I just asked? Don't be shy.
I think those were all pretty normal things to have done. Pretty reasonable.
Just listing all the things you could get arrested for in the new bill.
Yes, things that are marked as, what can be marked as terrorism under this bill. Any outstanding thoughts? Don't be shy.
What we're doing right now is called terrorism.
That's true. Yeah, what we're doing is also terrorism, right? Yeah, so the point of that exercise, you can feel free to keep your cameras on or turn them off, up to you. But the point of that exercise was to show, one, the absurdity of what is being marked as terrorism in this bill, and two, how it implicates many people, folks who are born in the Philippines, folks who are not born in the Philippines, people who've maybe been, people who've even supported efforts. And we use the example of, supporting and uplifting other struggles because just as we talk about the struggles in the Philippines too, that is that's a potential for being marked as a terrorist. But I hope that doesn't leave folks feel, too distraught. And what we're hoping that at the end of this discussion, you feel that, one, you're not alone, and two, that, it's possible to address this and we can address this. The youth in particular have had such a strong role in fighting against injustice in the Philippines, from the history of the Katipunan to the Kabataan Makabayan, Patriotic Youth, to now. So we invite you to join us in this discussion. So I guess before we even continue to everything, we'll get to the nitty gritty of why we're all here, which is, what's the anti-terrorism bill? What is it? And that's Ruby.
Yeah. So what is this that we're talking about? What we really want to talk about is, we want Clarissa from Karapatan to share her experience later, and we want to talk about, the implications of it on activists and on free speech. But a basic overview, so, this anti-terrorism bill, if it's passed to an act, and right now all it needs is Duterte's signature, the state and its forces still have absolute power in defining what constitutes terrorism. So, and who will be considered terrorists and what they can do with these individuals or organizations, whether they're domestic, whether they're in the Philippines, or whether they're like foreign chapters of Filipino organizations. So moving on to the next slide, some of the examples. So this is a graphic that's been going around online. These are some things that would be tagged as terrorist activity. So causing damage or attempting to cause damage to government property, assault or attempted assault.
Rosie? Did Rosie freeze for people? Okay.
Her internet goes out a lot. I think she might have lost connection.
I think she's back.
Hi. Sorry. I'm back. Okay. So as I was saying, again, when it says attempted, it will be completely up to state forces to determine whether something was intended to be assault, whether something was intended to be damage to property. If you buy or carry a knife, that can be used to kill, like any knife, a kitchen knife. Meet up with your friends because of the possibility that you might secretly be plotting an attack with them. So like organization meetings, or it will be completely up to the state to determine that. Donating or helping relief drives that aren't government or state recognized. So we've already seen those who are organizing relief efforts in the Philippines be arrested. There's also participating in a rally or any movement that can cause serious risk to public safety. Again, that will be defined by state forces. Posting, writing, sharing, and or retweeting posts, even memes related to, quote, terrorist activities. Again, up to state forces. And if you're a suspect, you can be spending, ultimately, you could spend 12 years in jail to life imprisonment. You can be arrested without a warrant, detained without a warrant, with no due process. And you can be subjected to state surveillance. So yeah, all your calls, your texts, your communication, your social media will be tracked. So this is, of course, reading all of this, we see how this is prone to abuse by those in power, because they'll commit institutional abuse without any remorse for their consequences, and it poses a threat to our basic human rights and democracy. Could you move to the next slide? Fatima, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, but I was talking with my mic off. If folks have questions throughout, please feel free to put them in the chat, or raise your hand or ask them. It's cool.
Yeah, so moving to the next slide. First of all, this is unconstitutional. It violates a very basic tenet of the Philippine Constitution, which is free speech. Like I said, it's prone to abuse. It circumvents due process. This is a way for dissenters, activists to be targeted, and it's a sign of de facto dictatorship. And this is the worst, absolute worst timing. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the state has chosen to silence the people. They've prioritized, they've passed this bill so quickly, and meanwhile, the people are still waiting for the aid that's promised to them. They're still calling for mass testing, which they haven't received. And so they passed this bill so quickly. Yeah. This is so shameful, Charlene says. Yeah. This anti-terrorism bill just tramples on the people's rights. But the Filipino people continue to fight in the face of state repression. And our guest, Clarissa Singson, can speak to that, can speak to where activists are getting their strength right now during this global pandemic in the face of intense repression.
We've invited Clarissa Singson here to join us.
Hi, Claring. So Claring is the Secretary General of Karapatan Negros. I believe she's also the chairperson of Gabriela Negros. And currently she's visiting from the Philippines. She's in Canada right now. She's been in Canada since March or April, and her flight keeps getting delayed because of COVID-19. So we're blessed to have her here for so long. And she's here today to share her perspective being an activist on the ground in Negros.
Hello, hi.
Hi, kumusta?
Yeah, I'm good. Hi, hello. Yeah. So I've been here for 3 months already. And I prepared a very brief presentation regarding the human rights and states terrorism before and now, because even before Duterte administration, we experienced state terrorism, and of course, how the Filipino people suffer from state repression. So just a little bit of background. Ever since, if the youth still remembers the dark times of martial law during the martial law period, where the Philippines was under the dictatorship of Marcos, and after 20 years, the so-called quote unquote restoration of democracy after the people power uprising of the people, it's not because of the leadership of Cory Aquino, but it's because of the people's resistance, the broadening and the growing people's resistance against gross human rights violations committed during martial law period under Marcos, and of course, the people are really longing and yearning for the democracy, no, to restore democratic rights, no, civil and political rights and democratic rights, no, during that time. So it was in 1986, and there goes the after the dictatorship and the martial law period, there goes the illusion of democracy. Sorry. I say illusion of democracy since with the past administrations and the subsequent administrations that followed the martial law, the dictatorship of Marcos, it was all they all violated human rights, and the state repression is still continues, no. So with Cory Aquino in power through the EDSA uprising, the popular EDSA uprising during the time, it gives us a little bit of leeway and illusion while we try to we try to restore democracy in the Philippines, quote unquote, no. But later on, the true color of Corazon Aquino was when she unleashed, no, the total war policy, which is the law which intensifies human rights violations. The low intensity conflict, or LIC, which is a Regalian doctrine pattern in the US counterinsurgency program, which also led to the formation of different vigilante groups, no, and different paramilitary groups who perpetrates, no, who were the perpetrators of gross human rights violations. If you can still remember in her history that we have the Alsamasa and some other fanatic groups and paramilitary and vigilante groups who keeps on. They were sponsored, of course, by the government, no, by the state, no. But with that, no, gross human rights violations were perpetrated. At the same time, the Oplan Lambat Bitag, no, it's the counterinsurgency program of Aquino. Then after that, the Oplan Lambat Bitag 2 of Ramos, of what's the Fidel Ramos. I was Ferdinand Ramos. Fidel Ramos. And Fidel Ramos, no, is a graduate of West Point, no, and he really thinks military solution also when it comes to the counterinsurgency program and solving the problems, no, of the Philippines. And with the development 2000, etc., there's really a big sale, no, or opening of the Philippine government and Philippine market to neoliberal policies, the policy of globalization and regulation, privatization, and all through the Philippines Development 2000 program of Ramos. And at the same time, he is very good in War operations. No? Here comes hirap para sa mahirap. So President Estrada, no, with the Oplan Makabayan and Oplan Balangay. Oplan Makabayan was really launched in Mindanao as a counterinsurgency program where it gives you an illusion also that President Estrada really thinks and has the malasakit for sa mga mahihirap, no, for poor people, but in essence, no, launched a massive military offensives, especially in Mindanao through Oplan Makabayan and Oplan Balangay. Oplan is Operation Plan. No? And here comes Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, 2004. Oh no, 2001. Because ERAP was ousted, no, from power because of the oust ERAP campaign, and he resigned, no. So he stepped down, and made an exit through the Pasig River. And here comes Gloria Macapagal Arroyo because of the constitutional succession came to power because she's the vice president and swear in as the president of the Philippines for 9 years, no additional 3 years and another 6 years after that. So in this period where Gloria Macapagal Arroyo reigned as the as president of the Philippine government, where Uplan Bantaylaya and massive extrajudicial killings happened. No, if you can still remember that we have 1,300 plus victims of extrajudicial killings under Gloria Macapagal Arroyo through Uplan Bantaylaya. So it's really a massive and an aggressive, human rights violations, killings of peoples, and that's where also killings in Negros started uh, during the time 2000, 2006, 2007, where leaders and members of different peasant organizations, especially members of NFSW, were killed during the time, and their officers. And we have documented so many cases of extrajudicial killings during that time. And there's really a more repressive laws and bills, being and executive orders by Gloria Macapagal Arroyo. There is the calibrated preemptive response, that for a while, I really remember I was still a kabataan, a youth that time, a kabataan party list officer member of during that time, 2000, around 2007, I think, or I forgot really. Sorry, I really forgot the years already. Where calibrated preemptive response restricts also people it violates the freedom of speech, the freedom of organization, the freedom of assembly, etc. And it was also a very challenging time for the activists in the Philippines during that time, and especially human rights defenders. And there is, sorry, there is the IALAG. IALAG, the formation of IALAG. IALAG is Interagency Legal Action Group. IALAG is a national interagency legal action group, which the one responsible for filing criminal charges and trump-up charges, fabricated charges among political activists and vocal critics of the government. And Negros is one of the pilot area of IALAG. That's why we have so many trump-up and fabricated charges and political prisoners during that time, massive arrests, illegal arrests, because of this interagency legal action group, which really filed cases, trump-up and fabricated charges during that time. It was also during that time, I think during Gloria Macapagal Arroyo or during Aquino, when I was included in a one murder case. Oh no, sorry. It was during the time of Aquino, but it was the Ayalag also that I was included. Even our names, legal personalities and known leaders of different organizations were listed to be respondents of different legal cases and criminal charges filed by this IALAG. So the the armed forces of the Philippines has really, because of this IALAG, has really a legal department which looked after political activists and critics and human rights defenders, and filed criminal charges against these personalities. I even know I don't know. I even see in courts, their personnel, the military legal personnel, and it was really massive. The fabricated charges and the trump-up charges among the people were really massive during that time because of this IALAG. And we have the Executive Order 464 and other repressive laws, during that time. Uh, and Gloria Macapagal Arroyo was very unpopular during that time with the manipulation of the charter change and so other just to extend her political power. No? Um, but it was really a challenge for the for the people's movement how to oust Gloria Macapagal Arroyo during that time. No? And when Cory Aquino died during that time, no, the 2010 election, here comes Noynoy Aquino, who emerged as the new leader of the Liberal Party, and bringing all the legacies of her mom and some other presidents, former presidents. He continued the Uplan Bantaylaya. So there's the Uplan Bantaylaya extension, and at the same time there's the Uplan Bayanihan, no. And during the Aquino regime, we also had documented more than 50 in Negros alone. We had documented more than 50 extrajudicial killings among farmers and peasants. And one of the celebrated case that we have is the Bailes case. It's a Bayan Muna organizer killed by riding in tandem, and that riding in tandem was apprehended and arrested, and they were later known to be organic elements of the 61st Infantry Battalion. So this Bailes case is a very celebrated case in Negros where it really proves that extrajudicial killings and political killings are state sanctioned because of the arrests. No, in the Philippines there's so many extrajudicial killings, but we cannot prove that it's really state sanctioned despite of the evidences that we have, no circumstantial evidences that we have. But this one, with the Bailes case, with Benjamin Bailes case, murder case, which Attorney Ben Ramos handled for so many years, no, this Bailes case really proves that political killings and extrajudicial killings were state sanctioned because of this, no. So Noynoy Aquino and until his last term, no, we also documented in Negros more than 40 victims of extrajudicial killings during his period, and we have also cases of massive arrests because of fabricated and trumped-up charges since 2010 until 2016. And at the same time, we have cases of, even before Gloria Macapagal Arroyo, we have numerous cases of enforced disappearances, desaparecidos. My colleagues and some others, of our farmers and peasants were abducted, no, and up to the present, no, we still continue to demand to surface, no, them. So we have numerous cases of gross human rights violations, and many more of human rights violations happening, especially in the peasant communities and in the rural communities and in the countrysides, where of course, no, where the strength of the people's movement were, and at the same time, that's why it was really the focus of the counterinsurgency program of the past administrations. So the Uplan Bayanihan, it's the internal peace and security plan, no, that emphasizes that the primary focus in the conduct of military operations is winning the peace. Next slide, please. Winning the peace and not just defeating the enemy. So in order to win the peace, the internal peace and security plan shall be anchored on two strategic approaches, no? The whole of the nation approach and the people-centered security and human security approach. So basically, the Uplan Bayanihan and Uplan Kapayapaan now, and later on, no, became Uplan Kapanatagan, is somehow with this in this line, no, of winning the peace and the whole of the nation approach and the people-centered security and human security approach. This Uplan Bayanihan is engaging all agencies and departments of the government to engage in different in the counterinsurgency program. If you can just imagine that the armed forces of the Philippines have these civil military operations that they say, that they are in charge of constructing the road, even meddle with the agrarian reform beneficiaries and land disputes and land problems, even with the relief distribution, even with so many things. They call it under the civil military operations, but we still say that it is still part of their military operations, even though they conduct this one. So it's really, that's why we have this joke before that, okay, so we should just remain the Department of National Defense and abolish all interagencies because the military are the one doing it, no? So this Uplan Bayanihan, it is contrary to the concept of Bayanihan, which is helping each other, no? But it is more of a coordination of all interagency and departments of the government towards counterinsurgency program. So different departments and agencies of the government were being used for the counterinsurgency purposes and for the objective of crushing a revolutionary movement and the people's movement. So, sorry, it's in Tagalog. Uplan Bayanihan is a broad war, no? And it's a dirty tactics in a dirty war, no? Launched by the Aquino administration. And the economic conditions have a large effect on the attainment of internal peace and security. Unfortunately, the Philippines remains marked by an inequitable distribution of wealth and unequal economic opportunities. This is really true because in the first place, counterinsurgency and for a fact terrorism or state repression is not a solution to alleviate the poverty and ease the hunger of the people. No, it's the system. If we don't address the roots of the armed conflict and the roots why the people struggle to fight for land, for just wages, for human condition, for everything, no, for social and economic development. So there is really no peace, and this counterinsurgency really will not resolve, no, these conflicts, and at the same time it will not bring peace. And even if they have these peace and development teams being deployed by the military all over in the communities, in the peasant communities, but the result of that is gross human rights violations and massive killings, serious and ceaseless killings of the farmers and peasant leaders. So that's why somehow peace and development will not be achieved if there is no social justice. So here comes 2016 Duterte, no, pagbabago, no change, no. So the 16 million who voted for Duterte with an illusion that Duterte will bring change, no, to the Philippines, because we are so tired and we are so frustrated and disappointed of the past administrations, the system, etc., etc. So here comes Duterte, a different kind of animal, a different kind of creature, which poses really, no, that he will bring change, etc. No, so there's an illusion. No, the people were really deceived by this illusion of change that Duterte can bring to Philippine society, and here comes the war on drugs, no, which thousands and thousands were victims of the war on drugs. And Uplan Tokang, no, he launched so many wars in the Philippines. The war on drugs, the Uplan Tokang. Tokhang means tuk-tuk and hangyo. No? It's in Cebuano, it's in Bisaya term. Tuk-tuk is knock and hangyo is ask, I think. No? I don't know what's the exact translation of that, no? But so that's Tokang, no? And in the course of launching that war on drugs, no, thousands and thousands were being killed, no, and it doesn't solve the problem of drug trade and drug problem in the Philippines, no, and the ceasefire violations, delayed amnesty for all political prisoners. In fact, there's none. Plan Kapayapaan, no, is the operation plan for peace, no. But of course, we know that there's no peace when there's no social justice and gross human rights violations. So yeah, next slide, please. O Plan Kapayapaan, see. All of the counterinsurgency programs were patterned under the U.S. counterinsurgency guide. That's why Duterte is really a puppet, and he just like Trump, no, the history of Trump, why Trump won the presidency, the U.S. Elections, no. So the promise of the old politicians, and also he poses as an alternative, and yet no, look what happened to to us, no, when electing and voting for this kind of people. So human rights situation worsens under Duterte regime, no. So Duterte Harry instead of Dirty Harry, Duterte Harry, a trigger happy, no, trigger happy president, fire and fury in the Philippines. So in Negros alone, we have 87 extrajudicial killings documented, not included in the statistics where the victims of war on drugs and any other extrajudicial killings. It's more of leaders and members of people's organizations. And of course, the war on drugs, the martial law in Mindanao, de facto martial law nationwide, and Memorandum 32 in Negros, which put the entire Negros Island under the state of emergency. Numerous massacres. We have different massacres. No? The Executive Order 70, which the EO 70, which is the formation of the National Task Force to End Local Communist Armed Conflict. And Duterte marks the highest number of killings in Philippine history. He even surpassed the records of Marcos during martial law period. So we have also Plan Kapanatagan, which is very baliktad, no. When it comes to its meaning, kapanatagan, it's just like you're being panatag or giving a I don't know, a trust, or you're being, I don't know what's the term of panatag, at peace, no, at peace. But instead of this kapanatagan, Operation Plan Kapanatagan, instead of bringing peace to the people, no, or being at peace, gross human rights violations happens, no. So with this, some of the pictures of the victims of political killings in Negros, no. The massacres that we have with members of the National Federation of Sugar Workers, the killing of Attorney Ben Ramos, the National Union of People's Lawyer Negros Secretary General, 2 weeks after the massacre. SEMPO 1 is the Synchronized Enhanced Managing Police Operation. They called it Oplan Sauron. They really like to put Oplan, and so many names, no. So they have Oplan Sauron, which is a joint military and police operation, which killed six in one day of December 27, 2018, just 1 month after the state of emergency, the Memorandum 32 and the Executive Order 70 declared, no, in Negros. Tapos, we have the SEMPO 2. So there's the second wave of the joint military police and operation, which killed 14 of the farmers, no, last March 30, 2019, because of that Oplan Sauron. And we have documented 99 political prisoners presently detained in different jails in Negros. Hindi na na-include those who were temporarily released because they posted bails, and some others cases were being dismissed, etc. And the red tagging of human rights defenders. No? The red tagging of human rights defenders, harassments and threats. So the harassments and threats, series of death threats received by different different leaders of the organization. These were the samples of the death threats that I continue to receive almost every other week. And even the red tagging of human rights defenders, this is really serious because they posted a poster and even tarpaulins. They printed tarpaulins in bus stations. They posted it in public markets, in city halls, where it bears our pictures, no? Our pictures, 62 of us. And Attorney Ben was here. He's already killed. And Taituto on my, I don't know, left and my right, no, holding a microphone, was already killed, no? And it really poses danger to our lives, to our safety and our lives, because we were being red tagged as personalities of Communist Party MPA in the Philippines, no, in Negros. And it says that if seen in the area, please text the number. It's a police hotline, and we try to call it. It's a police hotline. So it's really it's really it really poses danger to our lives and security, because we were being red tagged, and we are being targeted, no, by the police, by the state agents, by the police and the military. So the last time the latest is the legal offensives continue through the Interagency Committee on Legal Action Group. So IALAG before, no, and IALAG was abolished. And here comes the Interagency Committee on Legal Action. So it's IACLA, where filing of fabricated criminal charges against progressive leaders. No? So this is a picture of the arrest, of the search warrant, and the raid, no, that they conducted in our office, in Karapatan and Bayan Muna office, and KMU office, NFSW and Gabriela. So all of our offices, 7 were being raided simultaneously during the time, no, and arrested 57 of our leaders and members of Bayan Muna, KMU, NFSW, Gabriela, and others, because of this Interagency Committee on Legal Action. And some human rights violations, forced surrender and fake surrender, military encampment in schools and communities. They even encamped in daycare centers, in chapels, in barangay health centers, in Bada Barangay Hall. That it is a violation, because it should be a peace zone, no? It should not be occupied by any military entity. So we have also forced evacuation due to intensified militarization. Some of these pictures were taken in Gihulgan City because of the SEMPO 1 and SEMPO 2. Massive, hundreds and hundreds of people, of farmers and peasants, leave their own houses, no, their communities, and seek sanctuary somewhere else because of the intensified and massive military operations in the area. And the AFP legal offensives continues. Criminal cases filed against known leaders and personalities of people's organizations. And now, because we have also the Human Security Act, no? And now we have the new terror bill. The new terror bill. So with a discussion of some legal counsels and members of the National Union of People's Lawyer, this is our take on the new terror bill, no? Why it is very dangerous, and why we should take a stand, no, to be united and resist and fight, no, against this new terror bill, because terrorism is committed. It is stated in Section 4 of this terrorism law. is terrorism is committed by any person who within or outside the Philippines, regardless of state of execution, of the stage of execution. One, engages in acts intended to cause death or serious bodily injury to any person or endangers a person's life. Engages in acts intended to cause extensive damage and destruction to a government or public facility, public place, or private property. Engages in acts intended to cause extensive interference with, damage, or destruction to critical infrastructures. Develop and manufactures, possesses, acquires, transports, supplies, uses weapons, explosives, or of biological, nuclear, radiological, or chemical weapon. And release of dangerous substances or causing fire, floods, explosions when the purpose of such act by its nature and context is, one, to intimidate the general public or a segment thereof, create an atmosphere or spread a message of fear, to provoke or influence by intimidation the government, no? Seriously destabilize, etc. And if you can really see this one, we were being tagged before as destabilizers of the Philippine government. They have this matrix where they put some names that they were just, these were the people or organizations were the destabilizers of the Philippine government, and you were being tagged as terrorists, no? And even the planting of evidences because of fabricated charges and criminal charges being filed and trump up charges, they really plant evidences and they recycled evidences, and even they have this collaboration with the prosecutors to persecute critics and activists and file fabricated charges with recycled and some courts were being used as factory of search warrants, defective and malicious search warrants, to paralyze, to neutralize people, especially criminalizing political dissent and activists, human rights defenders who were vocal critics of the anti-people programs and policies of the Duterte administration. So, terrorism shall not include advocacy, protest, dissent, stoppage of work, industrial or mass action, or other similar exercises of civil and political rights, which are not intended to cause death or serious physical harm to a person, to endanger a person's life, or to create a serious risk to public safety. But it is really very vague. It is very vague, and it is subject for their own interpretation and their own perception of the people committing crime and interpretation of the law, no? So, based on the legal opinion of NUPL, this really terror bill, you have no safeguards anymore, no? When it comes to the abuses and accountability, you can be tagged as terrorists, especially with us, human rights defenders and activists and members of people's organizations being red tagged as terrorists, as member of terrorist group. So it is really dangerous. There is a the surveillance is legal, no? It will become legal, no? Later on, what do you call this? The unlawful arrest, or you could be arrested without a warrant of arrest. A warrantless arrest, no, is allowed, no? And at the same time, and just like what is happening now, people there in the Philippines back there just hold protests and mass actions and gatherings to oppose and to demand, no, that this terror bill will be not passed, no, and signed into a law by Duterte, and they were being arrested. We have also cases now already of the Cebu 7, no, where they were arrested in UP Cebu campus while holding a protest with to jump this terror bill. And at the same time, there's an earlier report yesterday that youth leaders and some members of different organizations in Negros, in Bacolod City, who protested, who gather in front of the office of the congressman just to appeal, no, and ask the representative, the congressman, to withdraw his vote, his yes vote to the terror bill, were cordoned by the police, and there's a threat of arrest. So the new terror law will not quell terrorism. It will quell dissent, and we should pursue our constitutional right to protest against it. We can win in the battle against the new terror law because we are on the side of justice, human rights, and the people. So the new terror law will not solve terrorism, but only worsen it, because it will only usher to a more powerful President Duterte and an executive branch that could wield the power to terrorize dissenters, the opposition, and the Filipino people. In summary, the new terror law intends to quell dissent, not terrorism. So this new terror law will in fact strengthen terrorism, and that's the state terrorism. So massive and gross human rights violations perpetrated by the state, they really want to sow terror among the people. Kasi ang objective ni Duterte is to sow terror and fear, no, sa tao, for the people to follow. But amidst all of this, but it will really breed people's resistance. So, but that's why amidst all of this, human rights violations, all the repression, the people resist. And we have to resist. Next slide. So now the question is, who is the real terrorist? So yeah, next slide, please. Yeah, we are on the end part. It's in Tagalog. Yeah. So are you ready? I'll kill all of you, yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's it. Junk the terror bill. Magimakas, hindi mahadlok. Magimakas, hindi mahadlok. It's in our local dialect. So resist, no, fight, no. Makibaka, wag matakot. That's the exact translation in Tagalog. Maghimakas, makibaka, wag matakot, hindi mahadlok. So yeah, let's junk the terror bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Ate Claring. Yeah, we had invited Claring to share, the history of what is terror in the Philippines, and who is the one who enacts the terror that we see. So we'll wrap it up and share, what's our role here. That's been a common thread throughout in the registration, within our membership, in talking to folks online. A lot of people are questioning, what next, or what can we do here? They're there, we're here, we're located.
Yeah, the role of the youth and the students, and especially the people, no, it's really very important, because we are the successors. We are the future generation of the Philippines, of the country, no? And it's really important, even if you are abroad, that you take to look back at your own roots, no, and connect and connect with the struggle of the people in the home front, back home, because still, no, we still continue to struggle for genuine freedom, democracy, and even human rights, to be realized someday, no. The full realization of the so-called human rights, if there is really a genuine freedom, democracy, peace, and social justice, and that's why we continue to organize ourselves. It is very also important to note that organization is very important, because you really have to go back that you have a sense of organization where our collective efforts um, can be ano, no, can be a motive force, no, in achieving, no, and to have, no, uh, tactical and strategic victories in our fight and in our demand, no, in defending, upholding, and respect for human rights, and at the same time the comprehensive rights of the people in general. So that's why it's very important for us to arouse, organize, and mobilize, and still to start with empathy. You know, if the people really care, no, back home, what is happening, and then it starts to question, may mali, there's something wrong, why this is happening, no? So there must be something wrong in the system, and why we have to ano, to continue our advocacy, our campaign to enlighten the people and say and raise the social awareness and the consciousness of the people, and later on it will translate into action, no, how we struggle and how we continue our fight through our collective effort. So it is also very important for us to to build international solidarity, like that's why I'm here, no? For more than 3 months. No, because we really have to ano, to establish that connection, because people from abroad are sometimes being detached from the struggle of the people in the Philippines, but we cannot win the world alone, no? So that's why it's very important that we also gather support from different organizations and sectors abroad, no, and locally, and ano, and no, knowing that we are not one in the struggle and we are not alone in the struggle. So we draw also inspiration from the youth and the people like you and the organizations. I was once an Anakbayan also, 1998, during the founding of the Anakbayan. No, and I was a youth and a student before, and a student leader also before, because I was organized last 1996, no, when I was a student back at UP, and until now I continue to arouse, organize, and mobilize. I continue my work to help the people, because uh, I know I'm in the right path. No.
Yeah, amazing. So we just have a list of things that folks can get involved in. You know, if you really, really want to do something right now after this call ends, you know, talk to your family. You know, there's a lot of conversations. You know, we're doing this work, we're doing this political work, this understanding, this educational work among ourselves, and we're conflicted with the idea that, you know, our family may feel differently, or, you know, may be in support. This is an opportunity, you know, to have those conversations, and naturally, you know, we can't switch people right away. It comes with progress, it comes with change, it comes with you know, really working hand in hand and struggling together to come to a shared unity. If you have folks who if you have connections with family back to the Philippines, encourage them to get involved, or to contact their representatives. We have information on the next slide about the Cebu 8. So these were student youth leaders who were recently arrested in actions. And if you know, and another thing that people can do, we encourage, you know, politicize your work. We saw a lot of, you know, organizations sharing information about this. That's good. That's important. The politics of the people is important for us to communicate out to other people. Create art. It's the art and the movement in the Philippines. It's so vibrant. They're just, you know, art. The purpose of art is for the people, and the purpose of art is, you know, to connect these issues that are happening and to translate it to them. So art is strongly encouraged. Or if you're a writer, feel free to write about what's happening. Write it, and, you know, submit it to media, submit it to local ethnic media, and partner with other organizations. Do shared study. I know there's some folks from respective Filipino student associations. That's an excellent opportunity to, you know, study together. For people who are looking to get involved in something more, the Malaya movement is an alliance of interested individuals who are aware of the human rights situation and are in opposition to, the dissent on human rights on human rights in the Philippines. And lastly, we strongly encourage folks to get organized, join a progressive people's organization to fight for justice and democracy. There's, Claring was sharing, these various organizations that exist. In the Philippines, there are organizations that represent lawyers, teachers, different jobs, you name it, different types of employment, youth, students, women, LGBT folks, peasants, farmers, peasant youth, there's so many organizations, and there's people here for you. And this is not a feeling that hopefully you don't feel alone in all of this, and we invite you to get involved also. And what it really means to get organized is what we're doing now, having these conversations, doing this education work. If folks are interested in lobbying, you can help with lobbying. You can, there's many opportunities to reach out to our representatives here. In the US, there's a strong movement of, Filipino youth contacting their local representatives to, one, condemn the human rights situation in the Philippines, and two, to try to mobilize them on against these tied relationships between the U.S. and the Philippines. Last week, the Malaya movement in the U.S. was strongly advocating against the arms deal that the U.S. was making with the Duterte administration. I don't know what the results were that, but I know it was voted upon, and they were doing a lot of work on that. Comms, if you like social media, everything's online now because of COVID, so get involved. And that's your plug to join Anakbayan. And if any of the other members want to plug our membership form in the chat, please feel free. Yeah, in regards to, actually just going back to this, anyone and everyone is welcome to lend their support. Whether you are Filipino or not Filipino, whether you are from the Philippines, having been born there, or whether you are maybe like myself, who was born here and I've lived in Canada essentially my whole life, right? So what I've learned in getting involved in this movement is that they want us to be aware of these issues. People in the Philippines, when you go visit them, I always ask them, when I went there in 2017, I asked them, what's the best way for people in the diaspora to support you? And they always say two things. One, amplify what's happening. And two, we have to see it for ourselves. Naturally, COVID makes it a bit harder, but hopefully when things land up, right, it's an opportunity for us to really go and see the situation of the people there. But in lieu of that, we have people like at the Clearing who can be here and share her experiences as an organizer and as an activist and human rights defender within the Philippines, and a former AV alum. In regards to the Cebu 8, and we'll share this information afterwards if anyone would like to donate to their bail. So while peacefully protesting against the anti-terrorism bill in the University of the Philippines Cebu campus, 7 activists and 1 bystander were arrested by police officers. These are people who were involved in food napalms in Cebu and with Anakbayan also. Military and police presence are not allowed inside the campus to interfere with student protests without proper authorization from UP administration. And this is something the students had fought for a long time, for to not be militarized on their own campus. But the state ignores that. And we see that, they're really cracking down on people like us who are becoming aware of the situation in the world and wanting to do something about it. So. Release Cebu 8. I guess before we get into question and answers, we can use this opportunity to do a quick vibe check, and also we can take our photos if people have prepared a sign. So if folks have prepared a sign and would like to participate to lend our support to folks in the Philippines, at the Clearing in her presentations always shares, you can reiterate it, but why is it important for us to do this work, to take these photos, these selfies? At the clearing, can you share why it's important for us to take these selfies? Why it's useful?
It is very also. It is important because we, even if we just post on social medias, it's really popularizing our campaign and gaining support for the activists. No, actually, it's very personal for me because I really know the Cebu 8, the Cebu 7 actually, and I know Jaime, Papa Japes. We call it Papa Japes, and Diane, the fierce woman. Diane is my baby Diane, actually. So it's really so we really need to actively campaign and support support our campaign in junking this anti-terrorism bill.
If folks have questions, I know there's a lot of questions prior to attending. Actually, clearing, since what Isang Bagsak is, it's one person will call Isang Bagsak, and then we all clap. Yeah, and we can warm our hands up, and then we can clap, and then formally end. Yeah, so for a very insightful and educational discussion and a very fruitful conversation with Filipinos and non-Filipinos and everyone else in Canada, we are ready to tackle Junk Terror Bill and continue to encourage and spread awareness to our community. Isang Bagsak! Amazing! Thank you, everyone. Really glad to have you folks here. Please keep in touch. This was a really great conversation. We do hope to have more conversations. Also get in touch with your local Anakbayan chapter. This emerged out of a need that we saw, obviously in the Filipino community at large, but within folks in Toronto. So the invitation is there. Please get in touch with your local organization. Yeah, and we can linger around for a bit if people want to.
Whoever wants to. This is the part where we're like eating the snacks on the table,
Yeah, we're just chilling. We're just trying to finish everything. We're handing off the food to people before you go. We got some Ziplocs. We're like, oh, please take some more. We ordered too much food. Take it.
Public recording. Will there be a public recording available?
Yeah, let's cut it down for some of the errors.